Hello everybody, Brad the Guitarologist here. In this video we're going to take a look at a repair job that I received. This is an early 1970s Gibson SJ Deluxe. The repairs have already been done at this stage, and we will go through and show what all was done to achieve this. And this thing came to me with about 5 different cracks in different places, so we will follow all those and show what they look like before and after. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, stick around. This one, as you can see, was from their Norland era when they were using those orange labels like that right there. And they usually had something about unions on there. There we go. Yeah, union made. They put that on all their labels at the time. Again, this is the the SJ rather Deluxe. This one has some problems. As you can see, it's been pretty well played, but it's got some cracks. We've got a crack here along the book match top. I've got a lot of wear along the edge of the sound hole, which not much we can really do about that, even if we wanted to. Got a crack right here. This is the one that concerns me really most. This one right here is running right up alongside the fretboard. Whenever this happens, now there are a couple of braces. There's one here, and I believe there's another one up. There should be another one up a little further. Those braces, if they give way when the top is like this, this whole thing could collapse inward on itself, basically, and break the whole top in. I've had another Gibson from this era, almost the same model. I've had an SJ. As a matter of fact, it's been entirely rebuilt. I may even drag it out for this video just to show you. The top was had to be entirely rebuilt because of this sort of thing right here. As you can see here, also on the back, there is some separation. This thing was probably dropped at one time. Some cracking right there, and this whole back and side is separating right here. And the back and side won't really line up that well if they're, you see how they're kind of misaligned. I'm gonna have to get some clamps after this and clamp this all up. Maybe get in here in the back also and get some biscuits in here to try to stabilize this area. Alright, here's the view inside the sound hole, and you can see the damage back there. Looks like somebody tried to glue it at one time and maybe did not complete the job, but you can see the crack that's all the way through, and it runs pretty far back all the way to the end block. So what we're going to do is inject some glue into this breech, clamp this up, and hopefully we can get this back together straight. I'm pretty confident this should go back together really easily. We have some cracks on the back over here in this area. It's probably going to be kind of hard to see, but we are going to attempt to get some biscuits in there to kind of keep that from the cracks from spreading and hold that whole piece together. Okay, here's the back of this thing where this thing was dropped or something and smashed up down here, and it's coming loose along this seam. We're going to address this first, and to do this, what I'm doing is I'm going to cut some. These are actually tongue depressors that I use for reinforcements of this nature, and I'm going to cut a couple of these, and we're going to lay these in and push them up into the corner and glue them in and kind of do a layer in this nature, and then we'll put a couple of supports across this way as well and glue the whole assembly in here just to keep to basically flatten this back out for one, and to keep it from cracking up again or falling apart or anything like that. And then we're also going to glue the back to the sides here. However, I've just contacted the customer and let him know the state of these frets. He was hoping to make this a player, kind of an everyday player guitar for himself, but the problem is some of these frets are in such bad shape. These have got gouges. Some of these are really deep as well. There's a deep gouge on that fret. A really deep gouge on these two frets as well. Those are just really deep. If I try to come in here and level and crown these frets and get these some of these gouges out of here, in a couple of these cases he's not going to be left with much fret at all. So I mean, there's some deep gouges there too. So what I've advised him to do, I mean, I really didn't advise him. I just told him the state of the situation and told him, you know, he's going to need at least a partial refret on this. There's about half of the neck at least, up to maybe around, you know, here-ish, would need to be refretted for this thing to really be a you know, an okay condition. It's going to need a complete neck reset at some point in the near future anyway, and this just isn't doesn't have enough value to really make it a good candidate for a neck reset for somebody like him who just wants you know, an inexpensive, nicer player guitar. This would be a good project for somebody who, you know, was making this a labor of love and wanted to do the neck reset themselves. They already have all the tools and that sort of thing. And I told him all this on the phone, and he pretty much agreed that you know, investing any more you know, is probably not a good idea. He's just going to have me fix the back crack and put that part together, get some strings on it, set it up as best I can, just so he can move along and get into something else. And you know, like I said, I told him, I said, you know, you're going to need about probably a $500 neck reset at some point in the very near future, because this saddle is almost all the way down up here on this end. There's nothing left. There's no break, and you can see what they've done. They've actually routed out these channels so that there's a little more break over this saddle, which is a good idea, but it's just not enough, and it won't be enough for very much longer for sure, because they're just going to need a neck reset, and that's the bottom line. So we will at least get to repair that back crack, put some strings on the thing, and we'll focus some attention on this, and we'll at least try to salvage a good video out of this. Alright, these are neodymium magnets, otherwise known as rare earth magnets. They are extremely powerful. You can get these online. You do not want to get these close to any of your electronic devices, especially those that store information, such as this camera. If I were to zoom in too far with my actual camera rather than my zoom lens, it would probably erase everything on this camera and would likely render it useless. So I want to be very careful with neodymium magnets. You don't want to get them also near, you know, they can really hurt you. If you were, for instance, to put a piece of metal or something on the other side of a child's hand and then put this in their hand, it would try to pull the metal through, obviously through the hand. So things like that you got to be very aware of, and if you choose to get some of these for your projects, be very, very careful with them. I always keep these stored on my refrigerator. I just stick them up really high, way up on my refrigerator, out of reach, and that's where they stay. I've got a couple of sets of these, and I very often use them in projects such as this for clamping. Okay, I have the first reinforcement brace in there, and I have positioned one of the neodymium magnets over the top of it, and now we're going to slide the other magnet on the outside of the guitar to hold that in place and to press everything together. Alright, we've got the whole operation set up here, and what I've basically done is I'm using these clamps just to kind of bring the whole bit of wood back level, so that the piece that I'm gluing underneath has a level surface to which it can adhere. Here is my second neodymium magnet on the outside, and the one on the inside is of course cinched up by the force. Okay, as you can see, I've removed the clamps, and this area with all the cracking has been stabilized now and has been flattened by the clamping action. Now what we're going to do, we've inserted a little piece of wood here just to spread open the crack here, and we're going to inject some glue. Now normally I would use a like a livestock syringe for veterinary purposes in here, but this is so wide I don't think we're even going to need that. The syringe just helps you get into really tight spaces, and what I usually, again, what I do is go to livestock stores and just get you know, big ones like this for veterinary use, and you can get the huge, you know, scary needles too that go with livestock. They're about this long. You can either cut off the tips, which I sometimes do to square them off, or you can leave the tips. Either way, they work, and they're good for injecting glue into all sorts of crevices. I do not currently have a syringe. I don't know what happened to my last syringe. I've misplaced it somewhere, so that's another reason I'm not going to be able to use it on this project. But I think we're going to be able to get away just fine with the tip on the Tite-Bond, because it's got such a small opening anyway, and it's squared off. We're going to just simply inject it like so, all along the edge. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we will get some clamps on this thing. I'm going to show you why these neodymium magnets scare the shit out of me. First of all, they're really hard to pull apart. You have to put, when you store them, you have to put something in between them, otherwise you'll never get them apart. They are very difficult. I mean, I'm not putting on here. There is a screw that goes in here. That's why that one will stay put. But check this out. I'll show you why they scare the hell out of me. You ready? Did you see that shit? They actually hit with such force that threw the plastic out of the way. So now this is going to be a bitch to get apart. Well, I guess I'll have to figure something out. Alright, and here's everything clamped up. It's not a pretty sight, but it should get the job done. Okay, the clamps are off, and this part came out pretty okay. This is all back to being flat. I didn't get that exactly aligned, but there was really no way to do that. I tried distorting the sides back into position, but this is about as close as they would get. But it is all clamped up and everything, and it's all solid, it's all tight. And just because I'm a nice guy and this dude's a good customer, I'm going to go ahead and fix at least this crack, because it does extend further in than just that first brace. So we're going to put a piece of reinforcement here, and then up here past this first brace I'll put another piece of reinforcement just to try to keep that from splitting any further. Okay, I've cut a piece to reinforce this position right here. So we're going to get this glued and clamped up right there to try to keep that crack from spreading. Alright, there's that crack clamped up, so we will let that dry, and then we'll come back in here and inspect this crack right here just a little bit further. I think I noticed there's a cracked X brace right under this point, so we're going to have to do something about that as well. Okay, it's been a little while later and the clamps are off and this crack is repaired. And you can barely see the little brace I installed there. But it looks pretty good overall. It does look a lot better than having that kind of, you know, peeling up like that. What caused this crack, and what's also causing this crack right here, is the shrinkage of this pick guard. Lots of pick guards over the years display this sort of property. They will shrink. Lots of Martins from the 1970s are notorious for this. They have often cracks in this area or down here by the bridges coming away from their pick guards for this same reason, because the pick guard actually shrinks and it is attached to the guitar in such a way with such strong adhesive that it just kind of, as it shrinks, it just pulls the wood with it. So it creates cracks like that and the one that we see up here. But once again, we do have a crack we need to address right here. I don't know how easy this is going to be to see right now because I don't have, oh, there we go. Yeah, you can see it. See there? You see that crack on that brace. Now what we're going to do there, we're going to probably try to fix this one at the same time we fix this one. I'll see if I might be able to clamp both at the same time. To kind of cut our clamp time in half. But we'll try to create another little brace like we did on this crack right here for this one. And for this, what we're going to do is squirt glue into this crack and clamp it up. So let's go ahead and see if we can do that. For the glue squirting part, like I said, I misplaced my animal syringe, but we're going to use one of my daughter's like infant Tylenol syringes for this, and this isn't ideal because it doesn't have a sharp point, but I think we're going to be able to get this close enough in there that we can get a good squirt of glue, and it should be just fine. So we'll use this right here. We'll fill this partially with glue and then squirt it in like that. Alright, one of the clamps is on, and that's the one for the X brace. And now it's time to clamp up the little brace for this crack. And for that we're going to use another piece of tongue depressor. The reason to use tongue depressors, medical grade ones like this, is because they are made of a high quality wood that does not easily splinter. And if you do these right, if you align these where the grains are crossed, in other words, when you're bracing up something like this, the grain's going this way. Well, if you take the brace and you put it where the grain is going the opposite way, these are pretty strong. So that's the reason to use these. So what I'm going to do here is just use this little sliver and we'll glue this up and put it up under here. And there's our second clamp in place. So we will wait approximately an hour to 2 hours, something like that, before we remove these clamps, and then we'll be able to restring it, adjust the neck if it needs it, and send this one on its way. Yeah, pretty much the worst of the fret problems are on this fret, and I would say probably somebody spent years and years with a capo right there. Considering how dented the frets are at that position, they had to have really worn that out. This fret in particular is pretty bad. But you know, at this point, without some fret work, it's not going to be any better. So it is what it is. So yeah, that concludes our repair of this early 1970s SJ Deluxe by Gibson. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit the subscribe button below. And for now, y'all take care.